16 police officers were injured after Black Lives Matter protesters took to the streets in riots following the police-involved shooting of a black man in Charlotte, North Carolina. Keith Lamont Scott was warned by police repeatedly to drop his gun. When he refused and instead threatened the officers, an officer shot him. The officer was black as well. But facts don't matter to Black Lives Matter, and they swarmed in hordes across the Interstate 85 highway in Charlotte early this morning, looting passing trucks and setting them on fire. This after vandalizing police cars with rocks Tuesday night and even hitting one officer in the face with a rock. Take a look.
Disturbing video showing an officer hit in the head with a brick. Looters setting fires and storming stores, all after police shot and killed a man that they say aimed a gun at them.
Joining me now is Senior Vice President at the Capitol Research Center, Matthew Vadum. Matthew, hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. All right, so these riots, these are crazy. They're still going on right now. But if we go back to the actual incident, what happened here in Charlotte, North Carolina, the officers told the suspect repeatedly to drop the gun, and he didn't. What did he expect to happen?
What did the man expect to happen?
The suspect who was told to drop his gun. What does he expect if he's going to aim a gun at a police officer?
Yeah, you aim a gun at a police officer. I'm not sure if he aimed a gun at a police officer, but I know that he disregarded their instructions, and I thought they believed, honestly, he was reaching for a gun. That's my understanding, but, you know, understanding of the facts changes quickly when these things happen. But when you do stuff like that, when you respond in a hostile manner to police officers, you have to expect trouble. So I don't know what this guy was thinking. Maybe he was on drugs and not thinking lucidly. When you really shouldn't disobey police officers, especially when you're in a situation like that where they don't know who you are, they don't know if you're dangerous. You really have to do what they say. And from what I can tell, he didn't do that. And
I believe the police chief
happened.
The police chief said that the officer who did fire the gun perceived a threat, and that's the justification that he felt for pulling that trigger. But I guess in regards to these protesters, the officer, it is a tragedy, no doubt about that. It's always a tragedy every time there's a police-involved shooting, justified or unjustified. Somebody's life is lost. That's always a tragedy 100% of the time. But the officer in this case was black too. So yeah, I guess my question is, these protesters, they're burning things, they're destroying police cars here. They even injured a police officer with a rock to his face. Which Black Lives Matter?
They're not. It's not like these people have coherent thought processes. They're just, they're looking for an excuse to riot, and that's what Black Lives Matter is. It's an opportunity for radicals and black nationalists and Afrocentrists and Nation of Islam, wackadoodles to get together and to stir up trouble and to spill some blood if they think it's going to promote their cause. They want unrest, and they're being helped by community organizers and all sorts of other bad radical left-wing activists across America. So I think we shouldn't necessarily give them too much credit and allow that they have a coherent philosophy, because I'm not sure that most of them do. But they do love to be violent, and they do love to attack people. And it's strange that they did it in Charlotte, which is, I think, something like 1/3 black residents. And as you said, the police officer who shot the suspect was black. So.
Right, and that's not the first time that that's happened.
They're just looking for an opportunity to riot.
Right, and that's not the first time that
that's
happened.
They don't
we've seen other officer-involved shootings where the officer was black too. But Matthew, let me ask you this: these cases, the Black Lives Matter movement ends up protesting, the high-profile police-involved shootings. Time and time again, we've seen the police officers vindicated, whether it's been through body cams or dash cams, or even certain cases where they've been prosecuted, they've been indicted, taken to court, and found to be innocent. They're found to be not guilty here. Even so, do you think de-escalation training, an increase in de-escalation training for police departments would be advantageous to our country given all this upheaval?
I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to de-escalate a situation, but not if you're putting not if you shouldn't be asking the officer to put his or her life at risk, and that's what is happening nowadays. They call it the Ferguson effect. Going back to Michael Brown and the shooting in Ferguson, Missouri. This is the 18-year-old giant teenager who robbed a store, strong-armed robbed a convenience store, and then tried to grab a gun and shoot a white police officer. Cops are now being intimidated into not doing their jobs fully. There's certain areas they're not patrolling because they don't want to encounter any trouble. They don't want to take a risk on doing something that's perceived as insensitive to minority communities. They're terrified, basically, of being called rapists, and they, not rapists, I mean, sorry, racists.
Right. It's sort of the reversal of the broken window theory here. It's the reversal of that theory, which says if you stop small, petty crimes, it will prevent these larger, more serious ones. Matthew, we're almost out of time, but I do want to touch on the Tulsa shooting here for a second, too. A lot of controversy there. Terrence Crutcher was shot. We have a short video of that. Let's take a look.
Betty Joe, where are you at? Well, he's got his hands up there for her now. Mike, I'm going to hit the recorder. This guy's still walking and following commands.
Time for taser, I think.
Got a feeling that's about to happen.
That looks like a bad dude, too, to be honest. Something.
Which way are they facing?
Police 1, they're facing westbound. I think he may have just been tasered.
Shots fired!
Ooh.
321, we have shots fired. We have one suspect down. We need IMSA here.
Matthew, that's a pretty hard video to watch, watching him get shot like that. But we're told not to jump to conclusions, and I think rightfully so in a certain sense, after the New York bombing. I mean, even President Obama told the media not to get ahead of the investigation there. But in this case, you know, we see the video. For liberals, they're just okay with condemning this shooting before we really know all the facts of the case.
Right, I saw the video and I saw basically a whole bunch of police officers obstructing the view of the camera. So I didn't actually, the version of the video I saw, it wasn't really clear what happened. But I think it should be investigated, but we shouldn't assume that the cop was out to execute the person that they pulled over. And it's no excuse for having a riot either. It doesn't make any sense to do that. When you don't know what the facts are. Let the system investigate. The police and the judicial authorities or DA or whatever investigate and arrive at a just conclusion.
Right, and that's not to justify the shooting if the facts do show that it was unjustified.
No,
I think the point here is just to wait for the facts to unfold. Right, exactly. Nobody does. Matthew, we're out of time for this segment. Thank you so much for being here. It was great to talk to you. All right, guys, you know the drill. Talk to me. Tweet Liz_Wheeler. You know I read all your tweets right after the show. And then we'll meet you back here in just a minute.